God of War Ragnarok Valhalla is free DLC, by the way. It is finally out. In case you weren't aware, because we feel like Xbox wasn't fully aware, Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 has finally come out today, after 7 years of the first one, which came out August 2017. And it came out with some decent reception, ranging from 80 to 88, which is all really good scores. So Ninja Theory went around again after being acquired by Microsoft, and we finally got Hellblade 2. Now, after 7 years of work into this game, you'd really hope that this would score much higher, but looking at these are good scores, but these aren't the scores that you really wanted to hit. This is not the bar. After 7 years, this is not really the bar that they should be aiming for. Clearly they should be wanting high 80s. So it's such a shame that after 77 critic reviews on Xbox and 44 on PC, that it's just come out at 81. Again, a great score, but after 7 years you really expected more. And this becomes even worse when you start to think about what's happened recently in Xbox, in how they've got rid of numerous studios to make up for paying off Bobby Kotick hundreds of millions of dollars and buying Activision Blizzard for around 70 billion. Now, it's unfortunate because obviously we lost some really good companies in there, so they needed Senua's Sacrifice 2 to be quite a hit. Now, I don't know if you've been on Ninja Theory's X post, but they put out a message at 6 o'clock on the 20th of May, a day before the official release of Hellblade 2, and the way this just reads and the way it's presented, it doesn't feel like they're celebrating a game. It almost feels like, you know, when you look at Cyberpunk when they realise they've messed up on something, or EA when they've realised they've messed up on something. We've got numerous games where the companies have put out a great wall of text to say some bad news. Ninja Theory have put out a tweet which has the same kind of feel towards it. Now, we'll just quickly read through it. So, what they've said is, "Hi everyone. As we sit on the eve of the release of Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, I wanted to thank you, our fans, on behalf of everyone here at Ninja Theory. We see you and we hear you when you give us so much love and support, when you tell us how much Senua means to you, when you tell us how much you are looking forward to the game and how much faith you have in us to continue Senua's story in a way that does justice to the connection so many of you have to her and to Hellblade. From the very beginning of Senua's Saga Hellblade 2, we have had you in mind, and I truly hope that when you play the second chapter of Senua's story, you will find that familiar connection once again, and that also so many more people will find their way to Senua and her world too. Making video games is difficult, much like Senua. We as a team have been guided by a conviction to achieve our quest, to make a game that sinks you deep into Senua's world and to take you on a journey that leaves you thinking and feeling. I believe we have achieved our quest, and I hope you'll agree. I'm very proud of the game, very proud of our team, and very proud of you, our fans, who have supported us on this magical journey. Thank you. Don Matthews, Studio Head." Now, as heartfelt as that seems to be, it gives the impression that they know that they may not make it and that they will be disbanded. So as we can see on the Metacritic critic reviews, 71% are positive, 23% mixed, and 1 is negative. But it's no good just listening to what the critics think. It's also interesting to see what the players think. Because of Metacritic's embargo for players, we'll have to go to X.
Your thoughts? What? What? Who?
So let's go over to somewhere where they can post. Hellblade 1 was one of my favourite games of the generation. Hellblade 2 was super disappointing, to the point I find myself wondering why it even has gameplay if the combat is going to be that dull and if the puzzles are going to basically solve themselves. And that sucks, because One of the biggest complaints in the first game was the combat, but there are many comments talking about how the combat has been simplified and is not that great to play, which again is a huge issue, because even if it's not the focus of the game, you'd want it to improve from the first, but it seems that after 7 years they've not actually managed to improve on the combat aspect of the game. GameSpot, perhaps the most visually remarkable Xbox title to date, but it's ultimately undermined by its emphasis on fidelity over story and gameplay. And this is one thing I really want to touch on the most, and one thing that I've talked about in a previous video, for example, recent first-party studios from PlayStation, is that video games is an interactive media, and a big part of that is that the player gets to feel like they have an impact on how the story plays out, whether it's scripted or not, that their actions progress the game in some aspect. But here, what seems to be the issue, it seems to be focusing so hard on trying to be a movie that it forgets that it's also supposed to be a video game, and that it has to be enjoyable to play, not just to watch. Because if you wanted to watch something, you'd go to the cinema. If you want to play something, you make a game out of it. And it sounds like they went a bit too far in the movie area instead of the game/gameplay area. Now we've got something here talking very highly of the game in terms of the graphics. Now, listen, you have got to love the compression that X does on videos, but one thing I've heard touted is how great this game looks, and that it is an actual spectacle. But I'm so glad that after 7 years of work, they have something that graphically achieves what they were aiming for. The thing is, as much as I love that, a lot of the comments I see praising the game are mainly about the graphics and not about the actual game aspect. So I reviewed Hellblade 2, and man, it's the hardest review I've written. I was unfortunately very disappointed by it. I loved and was profoundly moved by the first one, so trust that I did a lot of internal wrestling and debated if I was holding it to too high of standards. Narratively and thematically, it's a huge step backwards for me. It lacks the same level of writing, story and introspection, and while Senua's Sacrifice's gameplay was nothing to write home about, this game guts it further. It's almost non-existent. On the plus side, it's easily Xbox's most beautiful first-party title. So there you go. People are just disappointed in various aspects of the second game, but they all seem to be praising the graphics. Disappointed by Hellblade 2, as a big fan of the first. Puzzles, characters, pacing, themes are not as strong here. Despite its beauty, there's sluggish pacing in its 5-hour runtime, which lacks an essential fun factor. And another thing that people talk about is its small runtime. Now granted, the first game also had a short runtime, but again, it's unfortunate that we have to bring this up again. It's been 7 years, and with each year that people have to wait, especially after being teased about the game for numerous years now, the anticipation and expectation builds, because now we're all aware that you've been working on this game for a couple of years now. So every year that passes, we're expecting something bigger, something better, and I think that's turned against them, because clearly what they've got to show after 7 years is beautiful graphics and not much else. Now, there are people saying it's 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10s, and it is quite a mixed bag. For example, this person, I cried no less than 7 times while playing Hellblade 2. What a truly life-changing experience. Here's why I think it's a 10 out of 10 any day of the week. So people did enjoy the game, but again, it didn't hit the heights that we were expecting it to hit. Of course, we'll have to wait till Metacritic allows users to put their scores in to see the full picture, but until then, that's all for this video. Have you played Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice 1 or 2? If so, let me know what you thought of the game in the comments below. Like or subscribe if you enjoyed some background commentary, and have a great day.